the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This vote was made for you and me. As I was voting and voting early, I saw my neighbors this vote was made for you and me. Bounce around. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This vote was made for you and me. Vote is your vote. This vote is my vote. From California to the New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This vote was made for you and me. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. That's all she wrote. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. That's all she wrote. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. That's all she wrote. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. Guard the vote. That's all she wrote. All right. So welcome everybody to Secure the Vote, Secure Our Vote rally here in Kingston, New York. Democracy can't happen without people like you who are willing to go out on the streets no matter what, no matter who shows up, and hold up signs and remind people that we exist and that we have rights. So we really appreciate you being here, and anybody who's listening from their FedEx trucks or wherever else they are. Take care. So, the question for today is, why do we need to secure our vote? Why? Why do we need to secure our vote?
I know.
Tell us. I'm going to tell you. In 2016, campaigns and voter registration systems were hacked and probed by Russia. There is a full consensus on this fact amongst the U.S. intelligence communities. China and Iran now show similar interest in state hackers, have been launching thousands of attacks, not just in the U.S., but in 26 countries, according to Microsoft, which has been helping detect and deter attacks for democracy-related organizations of all stripes. Robert Mueller testified while under oath that not only are elections vulnerable in 2020 and others, but the Russians and other people, other countries are interfering in our elections as we all sit here. So right now as we speak, we have people trying to mess with us and mess with our systems. And I'd like to call up Mary Vandy Zandy, who's going to talk about what the money should be used for in order to protect our votes.
Okay, we've talked about what we're asking for. Why do we need to secure our vote? Is that better? Okay. What should the money that has been allocated by the House but has not yet been voted on by the Senate do? And here's a list. Paper record. Every voter can mark a paper ballot by hand or with an assistive device and verify their vote so that there is a paper record of every vote cast.
Yeah.
Number 2, checking the results. Officials subject machine-counted results to a robust manual post-election audit that can detect and correct false outcomes. 3, secure voter data. Voter databases should be backed up offline, monitored and secured using best practices. Poll workers should be trained to ensure that voters can cast a vote in case of a hack or error. Finally, election websites and election management systems, as well as the vendors themselves, also need to be more secure and resilient in the face of possible hacking attempts and computer error.
Great, okay. And Paul Kludinsky from Indivisible 19 is going to talk about, Paul, go ahead, you got it. You do.
It's right in the mic.
Okay, I'm here to address what we want them to do, okay? I mean, the national security and community agrees fully that in 2016, we were hacked, we were attacked. This was definitely done. If ever there's an issue that should be beyond bipartisan, but actually nonpartisan, it's when your country gets attacked by a foreign country trying to undermine the very foundation of your democracy. So what we want them to do is to pay attention to this and actually move forward with this. The House has already passed funding to make our voting more robust and more deeply protected. The Senate has not moved, and of course, because the Senate hasn't moved, the administration isn't going to move at all. So we want them to actually take action behind what the House has already done. There's one person, we all know his name, who's actually standing in the way of this. This is Mitch McConnell, and it's quite clear. We can question why he's doing it, we can question his motives, we can question all of these things, we can point fingers, we can blame. The fact of the matter is, he's not, and the only thing that we can do about that is to make noise. So that's why we're here. What we want is we want them to take action. Very simple. The House has passed $600 million. What is $600 million in a multi-trillion-dollar economy? To guard our vote, to put in the foundational expectations across the board, across the country, that gets it done, so we know walking into that voting booth that our vote will be counted, will count, and we know what we're doing going forward. And I thank you.
Mitch McConnell, act now! Mitch McConnell, act now!
Do something
Mitch McConnell, act now! Mitch McConnell, act now! Good work.
Thank you.
All right, so we are lucky here in Ulster County. We have one of the commissioners of the Board of Elections is Ashley Didis, and she is a fine, fine person and works really hard on our behalf to make sure everything's okay. And Ashley could not be here with us today, but I have something that she wrote about election integrity and security and cybersecurity in Ulster County. Ulster County has a completely air-gapped server, which means that the ballots are programmed on a system that never gets accessed by the internet, which gives us 100% satisfaction that the programming of the ballot will never be manipulated. Those ballots are then tested on our voting systems and secured with unique seals and labels that are recorded and verified by election personnel before the system is used by voters. Since voters use paper ballots, there is a safety net built into the process, and we always do a random selection of 3% of voted ballots to hand canvass after the election to verify that it matches what the system recorded on election day. In Ulster County, if a contest is within 1/2 of 1%, we canvass all of the ballots to verify that they were accurately read. In the 10 years we've been using these systems, we have never seen an irregularity. Election night results are uploaded using clean, never-used thumb drives that are single-use. So for each upload, a brand new thumb drive is used to transfer the results from the server to the web. So that's what Ulster County has going, and I think that's pretty cool, right? Does that make you feel better? Yes. Thank you, Ashley. So now we would like to bring up to speak one of our gems of public servants, somebody who has been a member of this community for a long time, doing amazing work with youth and with legal matters. And that is Dave Clegg, who will be our next district attorney. Dave Clegg. Couldn't get better.
Thank you, Dave.
So it's great to be here with you. It's wonderful on a beautiful fall day, well, almost fall, but it's a beautiful day anyway, to really be here to talk about what I think is a human right, which is our voting, which is protecting our democracy. I want to echo what Paul said, that the president and Mitch McConnell are standing in the way of democracy. I call that being unpatriotic.
Yeah, me too.
We know that the Mueller report showed Volume 1, which people aren't paying enough attention to. Volume 1 said, without question, we have been attacked, that they interfered with our election, that we all know helped Donald Trump get elected. When you ask why Mitch McConnell is standing in the way and why the president is standing in the way, that is the reason. The president doesn't want to acknowledge that the Russians helped get him elected, and we all have to ask, why does our enemy in the world want Donald Trump to be president? Somebody should be asking that question out there. So what can we do about it? We have to act with our government and with a response that is going to be firm and strong. There should be sanctions as we go into the next election cycle. The FBI and all our law enforcement agencies need to be on top of watching if there's anything going on our social media or in our emails or whatever's going on, hacking and botting and all the things that they can do. If it's going on, we have to identify it right away. We have to sanction it right away. And the government must be responsible for notifying the general public that this is happening and where it's happening. That's the key. If the government doesn't take that response, we're just going to have the factionalization that we have, the division in our communities where one person doesn't believe the other one because they call it fake news. We need the government to stand behind the recognition that we are being attacked, and we are being attacked by our enemies. So that's what I say we need to do. We should be like the folks out there in Hong Kong. We should be standing up on the street corners and shouting from the rooftops. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave, and that is so true. It's going to come from our energy and our enthusiasm. Okay, I'd like to invite up Eve Walter now, and she is an educator, and she's a candidate for Ulster County Legislator down in the New Paltz area, and it takes incredible dedication and courage and care to run for an elected seat. So I really appreciate you coming here and doing this and doing all you're doing. Eve Walter.
Hi. So I am running for Ulster County Legislator for District 20 in New Paltz. I'm also, for over 20 years, have been a research scientist. This past June, the Supreme Court was asked to make a decision as to whether or not to allow the Trump administration to add a citizenship question to the 2020 census. The argument from the Trump administration was that adding this question helped enforce the Voters' Right Act, in that it allowed the government to know how many eligible voters we had. By a slim majority, the Supreme Court disagreed, voting down this option to add this question. The deciding vote from a Republican-appointed member, Roberts, was due particularly to the falseness of the voter right claim. Not only is it false that adding a citizenship question protects voters' rights, but adding it, and now just the media about adding it, has harmed voters' rights. Why? First, the problem. Adding this question makes people who are not U.S. citizens fearful to answer the census, and for good reason. People who live with non-U.S. citizens are fearful to answer the census for good reason. And now, even though the Supreme Court shot down this option, all of the media around it has made the census even more frightening to the disenfranchised. It has been known for a long time that the census undercounts in poorer communities and communities in color, and it may overcount in wealthier communities. Projection estimates are that in 2020, around 4 million Black and Latinx people will be missed. How does this impact voters' rights? The census is the only source used for districting. This means that if a state has an undercount, they can lose congressional seats and they can lose electoral votes. And New York is one of the states most at risk. This is not just voter rights. Undercount for a region means less federal dollars for important social services like Head Start, Pell Grant, Medicare, and nutritional assistance. It means less federal dollars for infrastructure like highways, and it means less investment by businesses. There is no citizenship question on the 2020 census. But more importantly, getting counted matters, and it is safe. The U.S. Census legally may only use the data for statistical purposes, and it is illegal to provide any information about any individual person. Census people are sworn for life to uphold this law and protect this information. So on April 1st, 2020, every home will receive an invitation to participate in the 2020 census. The census requires public trust. Voter rights require an accurate census. Thank you.
Thank you, Eve. That was great to hear and learn about. Thank you. Okay, and now we have Fanon Fraser, who's going to come up from Citizen Action to speak about suppression of minority votes. Thank you for all the work you do for Citizen Action. Very important.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad we're all out here together. So as all the cars are passing by, once again with so many other issues, whether it be immigrant rights, it's the desensitization, you know? I mean, this is nothing new, this voter suppression, especially for minority communities, as was just said. And it's nothing new. Since what, 1920 in, what was it, Ocoee, Florida, where when the black vote was finally enfranchised in Florida and black women were enfranchised in Florida, what happened? Over 500 farmers were pushed off their land, lynchings occurred, and castrations occurred. And, you know, I mean, we can say this is history, but it desensitizes us to today, to what's going on today. And, you know, not that racism is just racism, but classism also is at the root of all this, but especially racism in this case. And it desensitizes us, and that's why everybody's driving back and forth, paying no attention to what we're doing here, because, you know, they think, oh, it's just a black issue, it's just a communist or a social issue, but no. You know, it's the fact that we're all desensitized to such a great extent, you know? And that's the real heartbreak in what's going on today, and that's what the voter suppression is about today, and that's what the closed eyes to voter suppression is about today. So let's keep doing what we're doing. I'm gonna keep it short. Thank you, and let's keep fighting. Tomorrow we're gonna be going up to Albany for a hearing on campaign finance reform, and you're all welcome to join us. All right, let's keep that fight going. Thank you.
And I want to say one of the great things that Citizen Action does is it organizes these lobby days, and you know, it's not always something you wake up in the morning and thinking, oh, I'm going to go lobby, but they provide a really great civic thing that we can do, and it's all arranged and really fun to go up with them. Okay, and now we would like to invite Odell Winfield up, and Odell is part of the new Jim Crow Action Network, right? Right. Yeah, and he's going to talk about unification, and we've had Odell here before. We love to hear him.
That's right.
Thank you. And once again, hello.
Hello.
It's really good being here. I feel as though I'm a part of this, you know, a real part of this. And I really appreciate the work that Indivisible is doing. And once again, we on a corner where people are coming by and listening to what we're saying. And believe me, as the cars go by with the windows open, they are listening. You know, and one way we will find out is at the voting booth, you know, at the end of the election year. But I'm here to talk about unity. Now, the last time I was here, I talked about how you can't fight racism with racism. You had to fight racism with unity. And so we are now talking about unity. But let's not forget the historical significance of what Fanon was saying about people of color being very apathetic about voting when they have been the targets of voter suppression. So we have to change that. And we change it by the community seeing us working together. And as we work together and identify with the politicians that's got our backs, then we can say that we're truly unified. So, once again, what we're doing now in the community, we're starting a campaign called We Were There Too. We was there too. Throughout the history of this country, we were there. We want people to realize that, you know, we're not the enemy of the community. We was there. So in order to be unified, you gotta understand who I am. I have to understand who you are. And so during this time period of educating the public about voter suppression and vote security, you know, we have to keep talking about unity. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Yeah. Welcome.
Unity.
Unity. Unity. Unity. Unity. Unity.
All right. Okay, Mary Van de Zandy is going to come up and she's going to read a quote from Charles Schumer, our senator, on this issue and this day.
In anticipation of this rally, in anticipation of this rally, we reached out to some of our elected officials, our federally elected officials, and we did get a response from Senator Charles Schumer's office, which I'm going to repeat to you now, the statement he's making. Senator Schumer says, although I cannot be there with you today, I want to thank you all for your tireless advocacy on an issue that directly impacts our democracy. We all know Russians interfered in our elections in 2016. That's incontrovertible. The best way we can show Putin and the world that America will not tolerate interference is for the Congress to pass strong election security measures. House Democrats have already passed and will continue to pass meaningful legislation to secure our elections. In addition to the House bill, the Senate Democrats have plenty of bipartisan bills that would harden our election security and punish those who try to interfere in our elections. So Leader McConnell has plenty of good options to choose from, but he's offered no excuse for why the Senate can't have at least a debate on them. If Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans fail to act, they will essentially be inviting Putin to again meddle in our democracy. We will not let McConnell bury election security in his legislative graveyard.
That's right.
This is from Senator Charles Schumer.
All right.
All right. You know, as Odell was speaking, I was also thinking about the fact that what it was a little over 100 years ago, there was women sitting in a jail cell being tube force-fed to eat who were on a hunger strike to get the vote for women. And women didn't get the vote until 1920s. And here we are standing on this corner, ladies. We're wearing pants. We're putting our fists up. We have a voice. We can shout and yell and scream and protest and canvass and phone call. Yeah, you know, it's not been that long since any of us have had any freedom in this country. And we need to fight tooth and nail to keep it. Anything you can do. So I know you all are at the top of the top of the pile of doing that. But help people to get encouraged to go out and canvass, and we need getting out the vote. Our beautiful candidates. Our beautiful candidates have only got 6 weeks left to prove their points, and it's up to us to get it out there and make sure that they vote. We know we're safe in Ulster County with our machines anyway. So, join me one more time. Let's do guard the vote, guard the vote, guard the vote. That's all she wrote. Guard the vote, guard the vote, guard the vote. That's all she wrote. Guard the vote, guard the vote, guard the vote. That's all she wrote. Guard the vote, guard the vote, guard the vote. That's all she wrote. Guard the vote.